Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, and welcome to another episode of Jacob Walks Over a Bridge. I'm Jacob. I'm currently walking over a bridge, and I've done it. This European vacation has almost officially come to an end. The time I've spent walking is more than I think I ever have before. I don't know, I don't know what the exact count is, but it's a lot. I think around maybe 4 days ago, it was around 180 miles walked, and I've definitely put in a lot more in since, so I'm definitely well over 200 miles over the course of 2 weeks. Which isn't bad, all things considered. I think I only failed to go over 10 miles once this whole trip, and that was a travel day when, excuse me, I just had pizza. That's why I'm burping, of course. The only day I didn't hit 10 miles at least was, I think I had maybe like 9 3/4, so all in all, I did a lot of walking. This is a lot. And I promise the next vacation I take will be a relaxing, tropical, coastal resort vacation. You know, where you get to just sit on the beach all day and do nothing. And man, I can't even imagine. I mean, today felt like a little bit of a doing nothing day. First I went through the tunnel for the first time, which I should have known what to expect. It was all dark. I don't know, I guess coming into it felt like, oh, this is an exciting thing, the tunnel. You get to, it seems like more of a thing than it actually is. You know, it's just a dark tunnel that you can't see anything. You know, one side you're in Paris, and the next side you're, France, I guess. You know, I mean, it starts in Paris, but you're on Paris on, I said it again, you're France on one side, England on the other. You know, I mean, I've gone through Grand Central enough times to know what it's like to go through a tunnel, so not so exciting there. But I mean, it was cool to take the train. Definitely a lot more security than I was expecting. I mean, I was expecting some passport control, but it was a little excessive for a train. But I guess post-Brexit, that's what you have to expect. Excuse me again, sorry. But did that, and then I finally got to see the musical I've been wanting to see for a while now. Back to the Future, the musical. They made a musical out of that movie. And I mean, I guess it was fun. I don't know if there are any standout songs in particular. I mean, it's kind of like, in college I took a class on ekphrastic poetry, where it's poetry that's inspired by works of art. Like a painting. Someone might write a poem based on a painting. That's ekphrastic poetry, and I guess this is like an ekphrastic musical where they're just trying to shoehorn, they have some songs that were inspired. I mean, I was kind of hoping they would have a whole song just about 1.21 gigawatts or something like that, or I mean, they had some meme content in there, but I don't know, there weren't any real standout songs. I kind of like, the sets were the most amazing part. They had some really cool set designs and transitions, and the lights were cool, the projections. It was all really interesting. But I mean, it was fun. Like, I had a smile on my face. There were some dad jokes in there that definitely, for the folks who were alive when Back to the Future came out, would appreciate more than myself. But I don't know, it just made you want to just watch the movie instead. I think that probably would have been a better use of time. I don't know. I mean, I'm glad I did it. I would have kicked myself if I hadn't. I don't know if I have to see it again when it comes to New York. I'll say that. But it was still fun. And what was, I guess, maybe a risk on my part, I took the 19, and I'm pretty sure I remember talking about this. I took the deal that was £19, 85 pence for the obstructed view seats, and they weren't that bad, that obstructed. I could see the whole stage. It was a little cut off at the top from the balcony, but that wasn't even what was considered part of the obstructed views, because the seat was right next to the sound booth, but that sound booth didn't really obstruct the view necessarily of the show. It was not distracting. I guess I'd rather see it like a Book of Mormon, for instance, something like that, where they've got. I mean, the South Park guys are in their own, a league of their own, but it was compared to that, it doesn't really stand up as well. Different class, so to speak. Oh, it's cold. That's why I'm sniffly. It's finally cold, just as I'm about to leave. The days that I wish I had light jacket. I complained about it here at least once. Alright, but I'm gonna just walked over the Waterloo Bridge one direction. I'm gonna walk back the other way now. I've got a midday flight, or I guess late afternoon flight tomorrow, so I want to get to the airport around the early afternoon. So technically, I guess I could sleep in till 11 when checkout is. But I've got nowhere to be tonight. So about maybe like 8:45 in the evening. I guess I should have expected how sleepy it would get in London on a Sunday night. Some stuff closed early, which made finding dinner a little possible. I also was in one of those moods where, and I'm sure, I'm not the only one who doesn't know what they want to eat all the time, but sometimes if I don't know what I want to eat, whether or not I'm even hungry, but I know it's mealtime and I need to find something to eat and I just don't know what, I will just walk until something comes to me. And I walked maybe 2 miles from my hotel to the eventual location of dinner before finally picking a place. And I guess what really got me was after walking for a fair amount, I passed an Italian restaurant. They had some food outside and it just smelled so good. It's like, I was craving some Italian. I was looking around. I did a lap around. I ended up in an area that was kind of touristy around Leicester Square. I think that's, Leicester Square. So it wasn't, the pickings weren't, that meant that most places were still open, but the pickings weren't great necessarily. The pizza was good, but it wasn't New York. It was an Italian style, very thick crust. They didn't even slice it for you. They gave you just a big fork and a knife, which I guess coming from New York is not what you're looking for pizza. And it wasn't very garlic. I was hoping it was going to be garlicky. It wasn't very garlicky. If they had garlic powder, I would have just dumped some on there, but that was not. They had some oil and pepper. It was what it was, but I am satiated, I'll say that. Maybe I'll treat myself to some desserty stuff before I leave. Maybe finally do a Too Good To Go here. But with all the walking, I've been treating myself a lot to things, which I guess is the point. You walk a lot so you can eat a lot, so you can walk a lot so you can eat a lot, so on and so forth. And I know that when I go back to the United States and don't walk as much, just because I have other things to do other than just walking. And I feel like, too, with a lot of especially over the last few days, I've been not avoiding, but just foregoing public transit just for walking places. Part of that was maybe public transit just wasn't convenient from, excuse me again, sorry about that. It wasn't very convenient from point A to point B, so I didn't do it. But at the same time, it was just like part of a good portion of this adventure was less different destination or different places oriented. If that makes sense. Like before this all began, I had an itinerary with some things on there, but nothing. There was no day that was totally filled up with stuff from start to finish completely. I knew exactly what I was doing from the moment I woke up to when I got back to the hotel to sleep. So that left a lot of free time to just wing it. And for me, oftentimes winging it is walking. Walking brings me joy. Like that first day I got to London on Christmas and was tired, stressed out because the hotel situation was a nightmare. The moment I got to leave the hotel and just start walking, my mood totally changed. I was happy. I was just happy. That's what I'm happiest. It's a nice night, though, all things considered, aside from it being a little cold. Rain's gone. It was raining, of course. It's London earlier today. But as I was saying, not the purpose, but just without a real point A to point B to point C to point D itinerary, and you have 3 hours to kill, it doesn't necessarily make sense to take public transit. You're just going to walk. And I did a lot of walking. And, as someone who enjoys walking as much as me, that wasn't so bad. I mean, even when my feet started to hurt, and usually there would come a point every day now when they were hurting after maybe like mile 15, 16, 14, around there, depending on the day and how stressful the walking was. I would eventually start, there were some days where I even took ibuprofen at night just to make sure that the next morning they were fine. And unsurprisingly, and I guess I'm still young enough that, I'd wake up every morning and the feet were fine. It was a fresh start. I guess, 8+ hours in bed or however long I'd be in bed was enough time to restart the clock on how the feet feel. But as someone I'm a big proponent of public transit in general. I mean, coming from New York, of course, that's their bread and butter. And a lot of the places I've been to, Berlin, Prague, they all have great public transit. But at the same time, they also have a great above ground environment, and not really getting to experience a true old city European unless you're going to downtown Manhattan, but that's not really, you don't get that real European feel. And I can go to Montreal, that's supposed to be the real European city in North America, but I haven't been there in a while and probably won't for a little while more. But part of the fun here was just walking through the old timey cities. I mean, Prague's was fairly touristy, and I guess when I say it felt like Disney, everything was targeted to tourists. But Berlin wasn't very old-timey for different reasons. London has some cobblestone streets here or there, but for the most part it's modernized. Paris, though, was the one that had the most cobblestones, the most small, narrow streets and whatnot. So definitely, I took the subway, the metro, twice in Paris. Once was because I was super tired after a long day and just wanted to get back to the hotel. And the second was this morning when I took the metro a couple stops from the hotel to excuse me, sorry about that again. Gare du Nord. After a while, I sort of gave up with French. I mean, I didn't give up. I still tried, but the accent and the lack of listening skills and vocabulary and just everything having my French skills have not improved with lack of practice. Maybe if I stayed in Paris, if I Emily in Paris did, just went there and just really dove in and immersed myself, I could maybe pick stuff up again. But after 2 days, that wasn't enough. But I there were times where I just give me the English menu. I don't care anymore. I still had fun. I still enjoyed it, but it was a little bit of a wake-up call of sorts to be like, yeah, you're not, you can. I was able to get around a little bit better than in Berlin or Prague, when I can actually sort of understand what I'm reading, which was always my strongest suit when it came to French. But I'm rambling about French, which probably means it's time to sign off. Next time I record one of these, I'll be back in America. So, as they say in London, goodbye.